Recently, my outfit held an advanced driving training, specifically covering how to control spinouts and safely fall from some heights, with limits to the heights. I was able to record it and will be showing it to you today. As a heads up, you can't hear me when I talk. For some reason my microphone input was removed from OBS, but whenever I say something related to the lesson, I'll have text saying something similar on the screen.
Well, I think we're all here, so we can go ahead and get started. I would like everyone to go ahead and grab a flash and join me in VR training. The flash that you are going to grab should conform to the flash meta. If you do not know what the flash meta is, I will tell you exactly what the flash meta is. That is a turbo flash with either stealth or composite armor. Most circumstances you want stealth, and a racer chassis. You're also going to want a gun on that, and that gun should either be a Basilisk or a Fury. You will not use a Renegade, and you will not be using a Cobalt or your faction-specific weapon, regardless of how fucking good the one for the NC is. Turbo Flash is kind of like the bread and butter of all flashes, because they do everything and more. So Advanced Driver's Education is pretty straightforward. I'm going to be teaching you guys advanced techniques for driving, fieldcraft, navigation, all that fun shit. What I'd like for all of you to do is please form up in a line on me. That is to my left or right, not behind. So we're going to form a line. Try to go horizontal with me. Parallel, not perpendicular. 3 of you are not parallel. 3 of you are perpendicular. There you go. So, I'm going to dismount. I'd like for all of you to take a look at these flashes for a second. So this is going to be the fucking go-to 99.9% of the time. The Fury Turbo Flash is obnoxious, and everybody hates having to fight it. People hate fighting it for a good reason. That is because they shred armor, like nobody's fucking business. Learning the Turbo Flash and learning the art of the bird dog, which is something that we teach during our Flash classes, which for the last 2 times I've run it, nobody showed up. I don't know why. It's probably I'm gonna say it's probably one of the most underrated assets in game. So what we're gonna do is everyone's gonna hop on to a Turbo Flash. Like I said, you want the meta loadout. That will be a Turbo Flash using either composite or vehicle stealth. I highly encourage the stealth option. With a racer chassis and either a Fury or a Basilisk on the front. Under most circumstances, you're going to want a Fury. We're going to go ahead and go for a little bit of a drive. I'm going to have you follow me now. You want to get in the line. Do not race each other for it. Just kind of naturally fall in behind people. The Flash is pretty straightforward. You can see, kind of wiggling your tires left and right. You can see how easy the serpentine movement is. You can see my tire trails. Exactly what I'm talking about. Doing this moves me about as fast as a top speed on a mag rider, by the way. That's also going to allow us to kind of very quickly maneuver around this construction here. Now, trying to do drifting in a Flash, especially with what we've got here, works a little bit differently. So do we all remember the drifting lessons?
I wasn't here for those.
That's while you're accelerating and you begin to turn, you smash your handbrake, which is space. You'll notice for the Flash, it just kind of pulls me off the road and stalls me somewhere. So you'll get a feel for that. It really doesn't work out too well, and if you keep accelerating...
I am in your debt.
There, he got it. You can see how easy it is to start spinning out in a Flash by doing this.
Yeah.
Well, the same principle applies to the Harasser. And there's a really good reason why I'm showing this to you. One of the key factors of abusing this turning ability is going to be keeping you alive from air-to-ground shitters. I'm sure everyone here has been in a battle bus with me, and you've noticed how I just kind of dance around people with Hornets and fucking Pelter rocket pods, right? Have y'all witnessed that? Have y'all been with me in a bus while I did that?
I can repair that.
Oh,
So
the
do
reason...
you basically cut your acceleration to straighten yourself out again to avoid spinning out while you're drifting?
This is learning how to control a spin out to your advantage.
Okay.
When you end up in the spin out, you only have a couple of options. And that is either learning to adjust and move with the momentum to righten yourself out, or you have to kind of just be at the mercy of the game's physics engine, which is a very bad idea. When you are spinning out, one of the things you want to consider is when you notice that your rear is overtaking your directional input from your front tires, you want to immediately stop holding accelerate and then go into reverse. And the reason for that is so you can regain control. So if you're holding space, accelerating and turning, when you start to spin out, if you hold reverse once your rear starts to swing back around, you can control your momentum and pull out of that in an advantageous position. That's going to allow you to correct your course, not lose acceleration, and continue in the direction that you wanted. Again, this is something that you all see me do in Sunderers quite a lot. For instance, when you see me in a Sunderer, you see me do a complete 180 in a Sunderer and start driving backwards while I face an enemy who's been chasing me. Most of you have seen that. I think almost everyone here has, in fact. And the reason for that is because I'm controlling these spinouts so well. So I can start driving in reverse, allowing my gunners to take care of business. And that puts me in a position, because I'm using racer chassis so often, I can just go ahead and commit to driving forward and either ramming my chasers, or that'll allow me to maneuver around them, which throws off their chase entirely. That usually allows us the opportunity to secure a kill. This is very good when you're dealing with enemy harassers and lightnings particularly. Can work for MBTs, but only if you're dealing with a Vanguard or a Prowler who really doesn't have an idea of their ass from a hole in the ground. So we're going to go ahead, practice a few spinouts here. So I'd like for you all to kind of show me what you're doing here. So we're going to go one by one. I'd like for everyone to get up here on me. We're going to hang around this tree where I'm at. And Darth, since you're number 2, I'll have you go first. I want you to show us a spin out there in these bushes. Where the fuck is Darth?
Huh?
I was talking to you, Dingaling.
Oh, sorry, I was getting called on.
Yeah, I wanted you to go practice a spin out over here in these bushes. Show us what you've got.
I don't know how. Sorry.
Okay, so again, I'll explain it to you all. When you're doing spin out, it's a very straightforward process. You want to accelerate, begin turning, hold the space bar to activate your handbrake, and you can see how I'm just kind of turning on the spot. As soon as you see the rear of your vehicle sliding around, you'll notice that your turning radius accelerates dramatically. That's because the back end of the vehicle has gotten loose out from underneath you. And it's pretty easy to control this if you just kind of feather the spacebar after you complete the first U-turn. You can let go of the spacebar, hold for a second, hold it. And you can see how quickly I'm able to replicate this, where I can just continuously spin out. So, Darth, I want you to go ahead and show us what you've got.
Well, I'm
Alright.
not very good, so.
It actually
That's
sort
the
of looks
point of
like
training.
It actually looks like a sort of golden spiral, if you guys have heard of that. Where it
Oh,
gets
That's also
more
why I'm using the tire trails that I have, so you can see my movement. Because when you watch my tire trail, you can see I'm holding space at this point. Hey, Darth got it! Darth did it!
Oh, okay.
You can do something similar when you're driving in reverse as well. You can see, like, as soon as my tire trail makes that full circle, that's how you know that I'm completing the spin out. So, Darth gave it a whirl purple. I want you to give it a try. Yeah. There you go. Do a couple more. Do 2 or 3. That's 1 more. Very good. Very good. Alright, you can stop showing off. Xulu in June, I don't know why you're not in flashes. You should be.
I'm just standing beside mine.
Alright, Xulu, I want you to go ahead and do a couple. Without using your turbo. Yeah, everyone's bad. That's why we're practicing. Okay, that's 1. You did 1. That's 2. There you go, that's 3, but I saw you use turbo again. You can still use the turbo to kind of correct your course when you're coming out of it, just so you can begin accelerating, but that's not what we're focusing on right now. Kitty, if you show us what you got, Cat. That's 1. That's 2. There you go, that's 3. Alright, June, you're up. One. 2.
Yep. Oh god.
Almost.
even
That was lazy. Do it again.
I wasn't even holding space.
Yeah, you want to hold space for these so you have control. There you go, that's 3. Right, Raven, show them how pros do it.
My thanks.
That's 1, 2, and 3. Very good. Now you guys can see how I'm just holding in one position, a part of the exact same turn, and I'm just repeating the motion again and again and again. I'm not really changing my momentum or direction or anything until I'm ready to start righting myself. Now it's possible when you're halfway through your spin out, you can immediately switch direction by turning from left to right and then hitting reverse. That's going to course correct you and allow you to kind of continue with your spin or change your direction entirely. So this little technique's called a flip. It's pretty straightforward. It's a basic spin out, and you're flipping your direction. So some people call it a twist, rotate. I always called it a flip. Find a name, own it. But as you can see, as soon as I'm coming out of that, I'm maintaining the spinning motion, even though I'm spinning out.
So it's like a horizontal cobra.
Loosely.
I'm more experienced with plane terms myself.
So, if you're turning left and holding forward to start your spin out, as soon as your rear end begins to spin around, immediately swap to steering right and holding reverse. So whatever your directional input is, immediately swap to the opposite while holding the space bar, and you can start controlling that spin out into one fluid motion. So you can see how I'm just continuously spinning out on the spot here, where I can do like 2 or 3 loops in a row. That's gonna help you dodge so much fucking fire from tanks and aircraft. So this is one of the harder techniques to really master, and there's a reason why we're doing it on a flash. Flashes are going to be a lot more forgiving when you first learn this technique, because you have a lot more control and a lot less punishment if you fail. So I'd like for all of you to go ahead, find an open spot somewhere in these fields over here to our south. I'd like for you guys to practice that for the next couple minutes. If you have any questions or if you want my input, feel free to ask me. And remember, you want to do it over here to the south in this open field where I'm shooting. So you want to practice those spin outs, and when your ass starts coming loose out from underneath you, immediately invert your directional input. So if you're holding forward and left when you start the spin out, as soon as your back end comes loose, immediately go to the steer right and holding reverse while you're feathering your space bar, and you're going to be able to maintain that circular momentum. Ooh, purple's picking up on it really nicely.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I figured it
Raven's
out.
doing it. All right, Jin, show me what you got.
All right, 3, 2, 1. I have to keep up my speed, make sure I'm in the right.
And remember, we're not using turbo for any of this movement.
Yeah.
There you go, June. You got it.
Yeah.
You're doing
just,
2 or 3 spins in a row. That's good.
it's
Darth,
just
you're napping over there. He probably was. You notice I domed him with that fucking Fury shot, right? Like I hit his flash with my grenades way over there. That was a fucking 200-meter shot with a Fury. I'm happy. Exilus, stop hiding behind those rocks. Get back here.
I can even initiate it in reverse if I want to, just by mashing space.
Get back here.
No one's going to know where I am, or where I'm going.
Correct, and that's the reason why you want to learn this particular technique. We're doing this in flashes because all treaded and wheeled vehicles can do this. All wheeled vehicles do this very well, but especially Common Pool. Your Ants, your Sundays, your Harassers, and your Flashes. Sunderers can do this with extreme difficulty, but when you pull it off, it is one of the most shocking sights you're going to see in game. Yep.
This is gonna be extra confusing in a tank because, as I think the controls are reversed by default or something.
If you're going in reverse without the momentum, yes. If you're doing it in a treaded vehicle with the momentum, it's a little bit different. I'd have to show you the effects of it on a Lightning. So you guys stay out here, you keep doing the thing, and I'll be back with the Lightning in a few moments.
Okay.
Correct. So I'm going to kind of show you what it looks like in treaded vehicles with Lightnings, Prowlers, and Vanguards. It is extremely hard to do in a Vanguard because of your low top-end speed. So you see me in a Lightning, I have to get speed, I have to begin this turn, and you notice, as soon as I try to brake, I start rotating the wrong direction. It's because I don't have enough momentum in my rear to do this. So I have to hold down my spacebar, let my rear end start falling out from behind me. There we go.
So it definitely takes more of a gradual turn than...
Correct. It's doable in a Lightning or a Prowler or Vanguard, but it really helps if you have terrain pieces that'll help you with it. Like, you saw how I just came over this hill. You definitely want to be coming from a position where you're popping your vehicle in the air in some capacity. So coming over ledges, rocks, barricades, terrain pieces, that's what you want to look for if you're doing it in the side of a tank. All in all, it looks really good in the middle of a tank duel if you're whipping around a corner and you're immediately adjusting to get front armor against an enemy. Ants can be pretty forgiving with this as well. I'm not going to show you the ant. I'll let you guys figure that shit out yourself.
Alright, I'm starting to get down consistently. But I'm not sure if I'm doing it correctly.
I'm going to show you guys how to do this in a Sunderer as well. You're going to watch me do it. It is a bitch and a half to pull off in a Sunday because you have to be going top speed. You need to pull off the turn very quickly against opposing terrain. You can see my rear's loose, and I've already begun backing up. So you saw how quickly I was able to just kind of spin back around. It's a bitch and a half to pull off in such a large vehicle, but you can do it in the Sunderer a lot more easily than you can in treaded vehicles. All of your wheeled common pool vehicles, absolutely. For shit like the Sunderer, not so much. So you can see, as soon as I'm getting loose, I'm immediately flipping around, adjusting my steering, and going in the opposite direction that I was headed. So,
Alright.
accelerating, turning, holding my brake, I'm spinning around, and you can see as soon as I'm getting loose, I immediately flip in reverse, wiggle my tires to continue my momentum the same direction. So while I'm maintaining the acceleration and velocity in one direction, I'm able to adjust my entire positioning. This is going to be very efficient, or very effective, in getting my front gunner into a position on a Sunderer where they can continue dealing the most damage to a pursuing enemy. It is not easy to pull off. It takes a lot to do, and it's extremely difficult to pull off consistently, especially because of how large and unwieldy this vehicle is. And you need to have a reasonably open enough space to pull it off as well. Trying to do it with all these rocks and shit, very hard, very annoying. But much like with the Lightnings, if you have a bit of terrain that you can pop a wheel over and get a little bit of air, you notice how much easier it is to go. Flashes, it's a lot easier to pull off because of how light the vehicle is. Tread vehicles, not so much. You can still kind of do it, but you need to get some air. Harassers have the same problem as Flashes because of how light they are comparatively, but they have all the front end horsepower and torque, which is why you see Harasser drivers spinning out a lot. But really good Harasser drivers, and I know you all know who I'm talking about here, the best Harasser drivers are able to avoid that spin out by using this specific technique. Yeah, definitely not Fisher. Definitely not Fisher. I'm gonna go grab a Harasser from this vehicle pad to show you what I mean.
Alright. There seems to be a little pause when it switches from forward to backward.
There absolutely is. So with harassers, you already have the higher top speeds. So when you begin this process, you notice how quickly you can spin out in these bitches, where it's possible to just lose all control. In a harasser, it's really hard to pull this technique off when you're doing reverse, but it can put you in an advantageous position if you have pursuers. So in a harasser, you can see how easily spin-outs just occur by turning and accelerating. Now I'm going to accelerate into a turn with my spacebar, and you can see how I have this lingering cycle where I just continue to do the same loop over and over again. Well, if I use my turbo over a ledge, I can use that to kind of carry the momentum over again. Throw into reverse, and that lets me adjust my trajectory, steer off into a different direction. So let's say I'm heading north, I want to go west, I hold, I begin this, I start going east instead. So I do it again, I immediately flip around, I trick someone out, I start going east, I do another flip, and I'm heading back westbound. So the really obnoxious harasser players that you guys deal with, you ever notice that they do 2 or 3 of these weird little turnarounds? This is exactly the same technique that they're doing. That's going to grant you optimal control over the vehicle. And if you have your turbo available, that's going to let you get in and out of positions very quickly without, fucking yourself over.
I am
And it
in your
really
debt.
does help if you end up in a position where you don't want to adjust your position. As soon as you straighten yourself out facing the direction you were originally going from or coming from, you can just throw it in reverse, keep traveling the same direction while facing the wrong way. So it's a lot of weird, complicated explanations to say you're driving in reverse really well. So I'm going to flip around, and you can see I'm already driving in reverse, traveling the same direction, but I'm facing all of you now. And harassers, this helps out if you have a max suit in the rear who needs some reps from a triage medic or letting their nano auto repair take care of business. This also allows a gunner a chance to adjust their position or engage a hostile from a different angle. I'm pretty sure I'm responsible for killing Raven right there.
This is pretty much high G turns from Ace Combat, but on wheels.
Loosely. Very loosely.
Or at least the really complicated post-stall mechanic where you stall your aircraft and make the back really swing around.
So I want you guys to keep trying this out for a couple more minutes. Let me know if you have any specific questions about it. You can speak it or, just leave it in chat. I'll respond to everything. Tips, tricks, insights. Because once we're done here in a few more moments, we're going to be talking about the safe fall technique. That's right, safe fall is not only for mag riders and tanks, all wheeled vehicles can do it. There's a very particular way of going about it, especially when it comes to flashes. But the same extends to all wheeled vehicles. Rapid tapping.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You wanna do a few quick taps as opposed to simply just holding the whole way, which is kind of the secret to my success. As all of you have seen repeatedly, I drive unreasonably fast compared to everybody else. These techniques and habits are exactly what I do personally to ensure that I can pull that off constantly. So I have that consistent movement where I am getting into position as quickly as possible. That is why you do not fuck with me in a race. Yes, it's entirely possible you're going to outpace me in the long term. But when it comes to navigating bullshit obstacles or dealing with motherfuckers, you're really not going to be able to do better than me. A lot of these techniques, most of you have seen how I'm able to navigate through a minefield without taking any hits. I know for a fact, Purple, you've been gunning for me on a few of those occasions. Where, by all rights, we should have fucking died. And I either missed all the mines or only got nicked by maybe one. Hello, June.
Just like a Dragoon.
right, I think we got a good idea of what we're doing here.
Yeah, I
So
can
the
do
next
it
up
really.
is safe falling. I see Raven's already off in the harasser. Alright, we are going to move over to one of my favorite drop-offs, which is over here at Squadway. I'm pretty sure all of you know what I'm talking about. It's the East Ammo Tower. So we're going to head out to East Ammo Tower, Squadway Actual. Let's get there. Alright, looks like we're all here. That's groovy.
Vanu smiles upon me.
So we all know why I come over here. It's to practice safe fall. For almost every wheeled vehicle, I'm going to have you guys hop off and take a look at my flash. This is going to be a prime example. So you guys see how I have this little Lumifiber fin sticking out the back of my flash that's above the foot stand here?
Yep, I see it.
So this area is a prime example of the hurt box on the flash. So where you see this Lumifiber fin and the kickstand, that is a no-no zone. That is your no-no square. You do not touch the no-no square. Because if you hit on this back, you will explode, and if you explode, you're going to have a bad time. That means you're back to the spawn room. Yes.
So don't land on your ass is all I'm hearing.
Almost. So anytime you hit either of these foot stands, which is anywhere of this rear tire housing, basically if you touch anywhere around this rumble seat, you're going to have a bad time. You will take damage and or explode. The trick to landing every wheeled vehicle is landing on the edge of one of your front tires. And you always want to try to land on one of the corners. Not the flat side, but like the outer, just above the outer rim. So if you are going over a cliff, you want to try to angle it.
My thanks.
So you land with a diagonal angle.
Damn.
If you take damage, you did it wrong. If you don't explode, though, hey, you're doing something right.
Shit. Okay, so is there any air steering, or is that just...
There's no air steering for this. You just go and pray to God you fucking land. It really doesn't exist. Now,
Yeah,
you've noticed how I've told you about cannon fire and momentum. That does not exist on your treaded vehicles at all. Because spaghetti code. Cannons have recoil, fun guns do not.
Ow. Okay, that was landing on my butt.
Yep.
Man, that took out half my health.
So you'll hear that June just tapped his sack. You never tap the sack.
Yeah.
Some of us are familiar with that term because we heard it from the absolute fucking god himself, Ballus Babalis, the ultimate end-all be-all of Flash pilots. Ballus Babalis is like the god of Turbo Flash. Like, hands down. No one's fucking with Ballus.
So
Ballus is, He is a wild card, yes. But he's an absolute Giga Chad when it comes to ATVs, quads, whatever. You always want him in a flash because he's delivering vital intelligence to you, and he's always outriding in some position where a flash should never fucking be. Like he gets flashes in places that I can't even get my mag rider. That should tell you something. You guys have seen me in some bullshit positions in a Maggie. He does that with flashes and more.
So he's like the warrior of light of flashes.
I would not suck his dick that hard. Or compare everything to a fucking JRPG.
Alright, I'm gonna
But yeah, Balas has his fucking shit together.
Alright, I landed on the edge of my front. Like, I landed on my front wheel specifically.
Yep.
So it's just sort of position yourself before you leave the edge.
More or less. You have to jump so your nose goes up, much like every other vehicle. You always want to be nose up, not nose down when you make the jump. All leaps of faith require this. And then you need to nail the safe fall, where your safe landing, excuse me, necessitates landing in a specific fashion. It's a little bit different for mag riders than every other vehicle, but we've been over that. So I'm going to have you guys practice this a little bit more. I'm going to keep an eye on you.
What am I supposed to do exactly? Just drop into the canyon?
Yeah, so when you jump off, try to land on the outer edge of your front tire. Either left or right, doesn't matter which. But you can fall from most any height if you land specifically on the edge of one of those front two tires.
Yeah, so you don't touch the sack enough for it to burst. Okay,
Yeah,
That's
it's
why we're
like-
doing this shit in flashes, because they are very forgiving.
Yeah, I guess I'm doing it right because I'm not taking any damage.
you can do this. You can just do the spin shit at any speed because all the wheels are close together, so there's...
That's why we're doing this in flashes, because they're so forgiving. You want to go ahead and get a feel for controlling your descent and your angle of approach when you try to make the jump in the first place. Because where you jump from and how you jump off will normally tell you whether or not you're going to survive.
So something like, so this is sort of like doing the hills in Halo when you first get the Warthog. You have to plan your jumps.
Sure. Not too far off from that, actually. So
Alright,
go ahead, keep doing that.
I'm about 12 minutes away from going back to work, so I'm just gonna keep doing this. Ooh. That was lucky.
No, I'm leading training class right now. You need to not fuck with me. So I'd like for all of you to get back on top of the hill. You're gonna dismount and get inside of my Sunderer. And you're all gonna want to pay close attention to how I'm doing this in the Sunday.
This will be good as new.
All right, we all mounted up.
Did something just crash into us?
Yeah, that was Xulu. Alright. So, you all have an idea of how the safe hold generally works out. In Sunderers, it's a little bit of a different story because you have to contend with all of the fucking ass of the vehicle. So, all of you at some point have, driven with me when I just yeet myself off the side of a fucking mountain. And for some reason, I still survive. So this is how. I begin a turn holding the spacebar, and I negotiate this so my front tire's always the first things to land. If you take a look at our health bar, you notice that we took less than 50 damage from that entire fall. That was 46 damage in total. Not my best performance, by far not my worst. But on average, a lot of people are going to run into these problems. The reason why you want to go ahead and try to pump the brakes a little bit on larger vehicles is purely because of that. You are a larger vehicle. You have a far less forgiving braking range. So you're not going to stop on a dime like your Flashes, or really have the maneuverability of your harassers. You're not going to be able to maneuver or pitch anywhere midair. So knowing how to jump and where you're going is a big help. So you can see again, I'm focusing purely on those front tires, and despite this very rough fall, with no repairs, still less than 1,000 damage. Now, just looking at these little techniques, if I wasn't doing that, would we all be dead right now?
Yeah, we would flip on top and then the thing would go blazing.
Uh-huh.
Just
Also,
never,
fire suppression's glorious, I know.
just never fall on your top because that's automatic death.
I mean, Sunderers will right themselves, usually. The tricky part about this is, if I'm not following these techniques, it's entirely RNG at this point. Maybe I'll get lucky, maybe not. If I'm just fucking blindly hurling my ass over the edge, maybe I'll do it, maybe not. In this case, looks like I'm getting lucky so far, right? Well, looks like I did. We took 0 damage from that, despite all of that fucking momentum carrying us through. Now, fun part about that, does anyone know why, despite that, significantly more noticeable momentum, why we took no damage?
Because the front of the Sunderer is also sort of the edge of the tires in the hitbox.
Not quite. I'm going to try to replicate that, because that was just a pure leap of faith. I was not doing any of my maneuvering outside of the first landing. So I'm going to go over this berm again. Turning tires right, turning left, turning right again, no acceleration, no braking. All of that, just over 250 damage to us. And we are able to just keep continuing forward again. So, not accelerating, just letting my momentum be carried by my steering alone. Correct. And because of my traction picking back up again, I'm able to steer with the terrain. And that's going to reduce the negative impact pretty significantly. Because if I'm steering against the terrain, it's liable to flip me harder, which is where I continue to lose control, and I can't do shit about it. Purple, I know for a fact you've been with me through a couple of those, and it's usually because we got nailed with an orbital.
So you're choosing to apply
Holding
friction with
left,
the-
holding right, holding left again, and you can see how hard we flipped right there because I went against the terrain.
So you're going for the flatter pieces of terrain?
No, I'm not going for the flatter piece of terrain. I'm angling my tires in such a way as my momentum carries me with the movement of the terrain itself. So if I have a vertical angle and I'm turning left while I'm descending, that means I'm going to flip harder. But if I'm descending and I have a vertical angle and I steer right, again with the movement of the terrain or the slope, that momentum is going to carry me a lot easier into a safer landing. Oh, abso-fucking-lutely, yes.
Because that means a little bit of friction.
Yeah.
Because the vehicle's physics are interacting with the terrain.
Correct. So you want to reduce the friction by steering with the terrain instead. So this time I'm steering right, and you can see how hard we're already flipping. I'm steering left, steering right. All of a sudden, back to left, and you see we only took a little bit of a little kiss of damage right there because I'm moving with the terrain's angles based upon whichever tire is lower at the moment. This is a very fucking obnoxious technique that requires a lot of fine motor skills, lots of quick corrections. Any of you who've ever driven with me, you've seen that I randomly wiggle my tires. Have you ever noticed that? Fair. But if you're ever traveling with me, just watch how I take a moment to like kind of watch my front tires.
Yeah.
Because you'll see me do this little flutter every so often, especially when I'm like...
You just climbed over those little bumps like a ramp.
Yeah. You
But
can
you're
kind of see,
aligning
like, I'm doing this right now. You see how I'm just kind of feathering my turn instead?
Yep.
Well, I'm tapping space and feathering this. So I'm actually doing a 2 key input, spacebar, and my turn at the same time. That's going to give me a very smooth, controlled turn. So less harsh of a turn. I'm holding space here, and that allows me to just kind of finagle shit. Fuck you, mosquito. So now we're gonna take this jump at a higher speed. We're gonna max out our speed here. And
All right, I only got a few, so I'm just gonna hop out. Thank you very much for teaching me so far.
all right, we're high speed. I'm going left, steering right, and holding left again. And what do you know? We only took damage because I fought against the terrain when we were already safe. If I kept holding right instead of holding left at the very end, we would have stayed at 6,000 right there. So I'm showing this to you as opposed to having you practice this right now, just so you can kind of get a feel for what the movement looks like and what you're going to want to aim for. Obviously, these techniques, you always want to try to find a way that makes sense to you to explain it and experience it. The best I can do right now is kind of give you my understanding and really give you a feel for how I perform it. That way you have a better idea of what it looks like in the long term. So now that we've done that, how many of you want to practice in the Sunday right now? Okay, you want to practice these jumps in safe falls and sunderers? No thanks, I choose life.
I
That's
mean,
fair.
This is just, 101 mountain goating for me. Knowing how to mountain goat your way down a mountain.
Exactly. See, Raven, a lot of this shit's going to make a lot more sense to you because you've been doing this shit for so long, too. And you have the real-world experience of dealing with fucking hauling. So you understand, you absolutely fucking understand fucking avoiding jackknifing. Well, a lot of these techniques are encouraging jackknifing. So if you want to do this, here's a vehicle terminal. Grab a bus.
I'll start repairs.
Or you have to practice when you spawn.
Now, when you're just learning this, I usually recommend that you use the Seesaw Meta Battle Bus. That is your blockade armor, fire suppression, racer chassis. All of these driving techniques are built upon having racer chassis. That's because you have the acceleration and the top speed to allow these techniques to give you fuller control over the road and your own momentum, your own inertia. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of park down here, and I'm going to watch you guys doing this. I'm going to tell you outright, even when you think you get it right, there are going to be times where the game just says, fuck you, no. Hi, Cat. You picked the wrong fucking place, gamer. Y'all might want to back that ass up. Now it's probably a good time to also explain how to use a half pipe. So if any of you have ever seen a skateboarder ever, you'll notice how they gain speed and kind of go up an angle of a slope or wall to pass by other people. You can do that in vehicles too, just saying. It helps to navigate traffic jams. You guys see me do it all the time in Mag Riders. I know all of you assembled have watched me do it in Sunderers. Come on, Purple. Purple, very good. You started you're fighting against your momentum again, though. Yeah. Fighting against a roll, move against the terrain after the initial flip. That way, you start flipping back the opposite direction. So if you fuck up on the land and you start flipping because you went against the terrain, move against it one more time to set yourself in the usually sets yourself in the better direction that you wanted to go in the first place, and then correct yourself so you start moving with terrain again. And under most circumstances, that's going to take care of you. It's going to take a lot of fine-tuning so you build up the intuition on when to go with terrain and when to move against. But once you build that up. Hey, you guys have been doing a lot of the shallow jumps. I want you to come up here closer towards the ammo tower and do, I want you to go full speed now. Because you want to get a feel for what it's like when you're going out of control. And you're going to want to jump off towards Squadway. So you want to go up towards the ammo tower. That's over to the west, which is here at Diamonds. You want to jump off the berm that's that lip here around Squadway. And you want to try to land somewhere near Hearts. So this kind of comes back down to knowing your terrain. Which is a big reason why I encourage fieldcraft classes, which is also kind of why I want to do some more infantry with Pyro specifically, so we can get our mounted infantry going, so we can abuse our terrain and map knowledge more.
And I'll be ending it there. The rest of the recording is just more practice, with a lot of me failing because I still need more practice. Thank you for watching. This lesson was taught by Drakon, leader and founder of the Connery School of Armored Warfare, or Seesaw. If any of you are wondering where I got my information on how to drive and gun for a vehicle, it's from him. As always, I hope you learned something new from this video.